Welcome back to this already the final segment of The Price of Business, which is really quite sad because I only got warmed up just now. But I'm delighted to be here talking to you about you and your business, and it's your business to know what's happening on the political front and to read what you're reading by the media very, very carefully. I found this headline very interesting. It's at foxnation.com, and don't confuse that with foxnews.com. This is their venting website where they say what they want, and it really is red meat, and I love that website. I really enjoy it. But here's a headline that is so true. The truth about New Jersey and Virginia elections, Obama's lies and the Obamacare tobacco, and hurt Dems, and the showdown didn't sink the GOP at all. Reality is that in the exit polling, the shutdown had virtually no impact. The one place that it may have had a little effect, but even though the numbers don't show it, don't back it up, was in Virginia, where the Clinton's buddy won by the narrowest of margins. Neither one of them got 50%. Neither candidate got 50%. And so it's the narrowest of margins. And, of course, in New Jersey, the guy that I say is the grumpier version of Mitt Romney. And, in fact, he's actually more moderate than Mitt Romney, at least as a candidate. Says that he is the future. He's the prototype of GOP candidates for years to come, which makes me think Weight Watchers is going to make a lot of money. But the reality is he is the prototype of Republicans that are going to be successful in places like New Jersey, not nationwide. And I'm telling you right now, almost any average conservative with any name ID statewide would beat a guy like Chris Christie for governor of Texas, if he were running for governor of Texas. And what it goes back to is that the lessons of Virginia and the lessons of New Jersey that the left and the media are trying to promote is that this should be a lesson. The morality tale is about moderation, the importance of moderation, where I say the lesson should be derived from what Speaker Tip O'Neill used to say, the Democrat from Massachusetts. I'm telling you, it's the most profound statement about politics is that all politics is local. And all you can learn from these two states is applicable to those two states, and they don't say anything about the rest of the country. My producer, Sigmund Kramer, I wanted him to chime in a little bit about this and his thoughts about what we should learn from these election results.
Well, I'm not sure that we're going to learn anything from these election results. I know that we we know that the Democrats are going to bang us over the head with the Terry McAuliffe win in Virginia, and Kevin, I'm not sure that the Republicans will ever learn. I think that's part of the problem is they don't learn. They just keep doing what they're doing, and they're not on message. They're not able to get that message across, even though they have the better ideas for this country. And I think they truly care about the future of this nation. Whereas a lot of Democrats, I think, are looking just for more federal government expansion at the expense of the American people, and literally and figuratively. And if the Republicans cannot do a better job of getting their message across, well, we're going to keep seeing. Now, admittedly, it was Virginia,
yeah,
right, which is not exactly a haven for Republican conservative, ideology.
The only, first of all, conservative. So, let me rephrase this: Republicans have always done well in Virginia. It really leans red more than blue, but they are what they call those so-called big government conservatives, which, to me is an oxymoron. I never got that. Guys like Frank Wolf, the congressman from Northern Virginia, has made his living off of big government while voting conservative on social issues and things like that.
But like we were talking about yesterday, Virginia, Kevin, is largely made up of a lot of people who are government employees.
Right.
So that government shutdown, like we talked about, did not help Republicans because, the common way of thinking is, hey, Republicans caused this disaster of a government shutdown. By the way, it was not a disaster. It wasn't even a government shutdown. But perception is reality, and the media bangs us over the head with their idea of reality every day. It's going to seep in. This is a little off the subject, but I just saw a news article talking about how Hollywood is now going to be tapped to be a proponent for Obamacare in their television shows. Shows like Grey's Anatomy, they're going to be. There's a PR firm that's been hired with taxpayer dollars, by the way.
Thank you very much.
To be a public relations nightmare for Republicans, because what they're going to do is they're going to try to weave into Hollywood culture in the form of long-form television programs, in the form of movies, how Obamacare is helping. And it's going to be a big propaganda machine, pro-Obamacare. So, the media is creating this culture of reality that really doesn't apply to everybody, but they're sure going to try to make it apply to everybody.
Yeah, Michael Barone, who's hardly a hard right winger, but is a neocon and an incredibly brilliant pundit when it comes to observing what's happening on the political front. He made some observations at FoxNews.com. I wanted to just talk about them real quick. First of all, he observed that the government shutdown didn't much hurt Republicans. I probably would have phrased that differently from a grammatic, perspective.
Didn't much hurt.
Yeah, but he said it didn't hurt. Northern Virginia was perhaps more impacted by the shutdown than any other part of the country. Yet when the exit poll asked who was more to blame, 47% of voters said Republicans in Congress and 46% said Obama, which I think is interesting. That's telling.
Well, it is interesting, but what are you going to do about it?
Well, that means that there was neither advantage for neither side going in there, neither for, Terry McAuliffe or the Republican challenger in that seat. There was no advantage. It was really a wash.
Yeah. I don't know. To me, at this point, the narrative is going to be written and rewritten again and again on the Democrat side. And they're going to keep beating us over the head with how Republicans are bad, Democrats are good, Obamacare is good. And that's going to be a problem for Republicans, especially, Kevin, now that Obama is now starting with the Democrats to pivot, if you will, over to immigration.
Yeah, that's interesting. It reminds me, this is what the writer says, it reminds me of the story of the Teamster Union business agent who was in the hospital and received a bouquet of flowers. The card read, "The executive board wishes you a speedy recovery by a vote to 9-6. However, in this case, the margin was even narrower in Virginia. So I thought that was interesting. Here's another story that gives me a little bit of hope. Same story, rather, different paragraph, different section. The Virginia exit poll showed voters ages 18 to 29 favoring McAuliffe over say his name. Cuccinelli. I hate that guy's name. By a 45% to a 40% margin. That's pretty narrow.
That is a very narrow margin that I would not have expected. Yeah.
The Rock the Vote folks sent out an email crowing about this, but put it in context. It is a dismal result. The 30 to 44-year-olds were much more strongly for McAuliffe. The 56% to 37%, providing some evidence for Guardian blogger Harry Enton's analysis showing the young people just entering the electorate are less liberal than those who did in 2008. And I think the reason why is they've literally been mugged by Obama's economic policies. You got unemployment around 20% for those who are in the youngest group of millennials.
Yeah, and those coming out of college with huge debt and no job
and looking
prospects.
at Starbucks as their best gig going. You know what a conservative is? He's a liberal that's been mugged.
Yeah,
and this group, the 18 to 29, have been most mugged by Obamonomics.
Now let's just see what happens though, because if Obama has some way with Obamacare of luring them back in, because now, they think that's going to be a great boon to younger people.
Yeah, absolutely. So, for me, the lessons learned is that goes back to what I said at the very beginning. All politics are local. Look at what the political dynamics are of that particular state. What we saw wasn't anything extraordinary.
Right.
This doesn't say anything about the national trend. The media crowing that Chris Christie is now the front runner for the Republican Party is what they're dreaming.
That's it. They're trying to own the narrative again.
Yeah. The old Disney song, fairy tales can come true. They can happen to you if you're a liberal Democrat in the media. But anyway, young in the brain is what I call that, not young at heart.
Right.
Anyway, be careful what you learn from the media because you're probably learning falsehoods.
Except for us.
That's right. We are the voice of reason in an unreasonable universe. It's called The Price of Business right here on Business Talk 1110. Have a great rest of your day and spend it right here.